it's Ivy Slater, and you're listening to Her Success Story podcast, a show where gutsy businesswomen share their success journey. Hi, it's Ivy Slater. Welcome to this episode of Her Success Story. We have an amazing guest today, as we have been blessed with in so many weeks. And I have to say, this is going back to when I talk about relationships and truly building relationships. Because a couple of years ago, Ashley Crouch and I met at an event, haphazardly, never planned to be in the same room together. And there we are. There was a spark of interest, some common ground, and we started just having conversations. She lent me some great advice at different times and offered some assistance in helping me out. Didn't take her up on it, tried to figure things out on my own, but was generous of heart and always held a place near and dear because of her generosity to me. And I have to say, her name came across my emails and I brought a huge smile to my face. And I was so excited. I said, okay, I want Ashley's story on this podcast because she has so much to teach. Let me share a little bit about Ashley with you. So she is the founder of Appleseed, which is an award-winning visibility strategist and communications company. I can read her bio and everything will be in the show notes and will be all out. So I want to get the highlights here. For every client Appleseed serves, it offers a microloan to a woman entrepreneur in a second resource-poor nation, such as the Philippines, Kenya, Nicaragua, and Cambodia, to name just a few. So here's a woman who we're going to talk about her business. We're going to talk about her strategies in PR and communications. She's been written for Forbes, the New York Times, Business Insider, Fans Company, Time Inc., Huffington Post. I can go on and on. She's brilliant in her knowledge in the media, in PR, and all of the above. But what she's really brilliant in is in being a businesswoman with a big heart. Welcome, Ashley.
Thank you for having me, Ivy. I'm so honored to be here.
So this actually, listeners, this gave Ashley and I a great chance to have a catch-up conversation, some girl time, some heart-to-heart time. So I want to lead with, you are about to celebrate this year your 5th anniversary in business, which is a big deal.
Yes, I'm so excited. And I never planned for this to be the case. Starting in business, it was never my life plan to launch a company. I fell into it. I call myself an accidental entrepreneur. But my dad was an entrepreneur, and he used to bring me with him to the office. And so I got to see how the company was built. Little did he know he was fashioning another business owner. But I think life happens. And in the world we live in today, it's so important to have ownership over your life and over your future and over your time. Not only in the way that we're working, day to day, which we can get into, Ivy, I'm excited to talk about, but also in the people that we're serving. Because look around, one glance at a Facebook newsfeed and we can easily see there's a lot of solutions that need to be created in the world today. So one step after another, that wound up being Appleseed Communications.
So when you said you mentioned that you're a accidental entrepreneur, and I'd say that is not the first time somebody has said that to me. In that, where did it, you share a little bit, just highlight a little bit about your background and what led you to start this company.
Sure. So in 2011, I was invited to be on the founding team of a fashion magazine in New York City. And I moved to New York City with no guarantees. I lived in a 3rd floor walk-up apartment in the East Village where I shared a bedroom in pursuit of a dream. And I lived an embarrassing number of days on ramen and canned beans, trying to scrape by with a team of 5 women. We wanted to revolutionize the media industry. We wanted to create a fashion magazine that helped women feel beautiful and celebrated the best of who they were. But as we got started, there was so much skepticism. We're working around the clock, nights and weekends, hustling and grinding. And as with any new venture, we were trying to carve a niche for ourselves. And there was so much skepticism, Ivy. People were saying, why are you launching a print magazine in a saturated market? So all the readers and all the investors were kind of casting a sympathetic glance our way. But it wasn't until I came to the team and said, look, we need to have language to position ourselves in a way that people will understand. And I branded the magazine as the first no Photoshop fashion magazine to exist, which instantly captured the imagination of the media and the entire industry, because all of a sudden we proved that something previously thought to be impossible was actually doable. We cast models off the street. We put them in the pages of the fashion magazine. We cast models of all sizes from, size 2, 4, all the way up to 18, 14, 16, and beyond. And it was a breath of fresh air. So during that time, I self-nominated to be the PR manager because I was so excited about the mission, and I felt like if more people knew about it, they could fall in love with it too. But I had no background in PR. In fact, my college degree was in theology and music, and I grew up on a farm in Arkansas with 100 chickens. So
I had no idea.
Yes.
The farmer's daughter.
The farmer's daughter. Yes. So here I am trying to piece together a PR plan, and through trial and error, I wound up at desk side meetings with the New York Times and E! News and Entrepreneur and Harper's Bazaar. And long story short, that campaign went viral around the world, and we got 180 media features in 8 months in at least 7 countries. And we took the magazine from 30,000 views a month to 280,000 views in just a couple of weeks. And the magazine still exists today after closing 4 rounds of investor funding. It continues to see 1 million views a month as a niche publication that started an entire global trend. Like, this was back in 2011 where Photoshop was still, the MO. All the companies were using, underage models. There wasn't a lot of interest in empowerment marketing. And so Verily, our magazine, was a tipping point. And it was a catalyst. It was after that time that American Eagle changed the policies, and even Lane Bryant started coming out with different campaigns, and I'm No Angel, and then Always Like a Girl. Like, the entire tenor of marketing and advertising changed around the narrative of who women could be. And I realized, yes, go ahead.
So what I'm also hearing is you realized, wow, I could do something I never planned to do. This is something that obviously you're good at, and I'm going to have a hunch that you really enjoyed in the process.
I loved it. Why I loved it is because I love storytelling, and I get so passionate about people who are innovators and want to make the world a better place through business. So at the end of my 3rd year, I realized if only more entrepreneurs knew how to tell a story effectively and efficiently by packaging it in such a way where they could leverage the platform of national media outlets, businesses could change. Every business, it would be a game changer if only more women knew how to do this. So that's how I got inspired to do it. But it wasn't always easy, which I was confessing to you earlier.
So you started Appleseed close to 5 years ago. In the evolution, of the company, what has surprised you?
Wow. Okay. Well, first of all, even though I was working at Verily in the fashion magazine, I developed a PR skill, but I wouldn't say that I was amazing at business.
And touche for you to getting it out there, because many, in what I do we're in the 11th year in business today, and there's a lot of people with great skill sets, and you open a business around the skill set, and then you apply the learning how to do business well.
Yeah, exactly. And so here's the deal, Ivy, is like, I was everything was going amazing with Verily. I was getting tons of media features, traveling around the world to Australia and all these places. But the company, I was living on savings. I had not been paid for 5 months. So there came a moment where, I didn't have a subway ticket to go to Kmart. So I would walk half a mile just to, get a couple of groceries. And there was a moment where I realized, in my dream life, it will look really differently. And I was sending hundreds of resumes out to every career platform on the planet and turning down job opportunities because they offered 2 weeks paid vacation and a ceiling on my salary. And it was like, I know I'm capable of more. And I know that more women need to know this skill. So as I launched my company through B School and Marie Forleo, actually, I realized, I'm going to do this for as long as I have clients. And 5 years later, here we are. It went from, living off savings and having $250 in my bank account to closing 6-figure months. And now the company's in 21 countries working with micro lending and women entrepreneurs. But here's the thing that surprised me, Ivy, because it's not rocket science. You are such a genius and a master and really helping people build businesses efficiently. What I found surprising is when I go into these rooms and I work with women at the 7, 8, 9, 10-figure level, and they need a PR strategy, and I hear the horror stories. This is what surprises me, because they tell me, we hired an agency for $10,000 a month. We paid $100,000 and we got nothing. And I realized that is because there is a major problem in the PR industry today, where it has become a world of smoke and mirrors and inflated retainer rates, where the client is at a disadvantage because they do not know what is happening behind the scenes, and they do not have the skill set to effectively direct the campaign and make sure that every story placed is positioned for maximum impact and growth for them. And that was like code red for me, where I realized we are in a world where if a company can tell their story efficiently, they have the power to accelerate their growth 10x year over year. I really believe that. But the industry, the PR industry, operates by a spray and pray principle where, they try to get a story everywhere. It doesn't matter if it's alignment with the target customer. It's, playing by a lack of intentionality. Mm-hmm. And that shocked me, because I thought that companies and corporations with large budgets would be hiring the best. And what I realized is that we have an industry problem. So now I'm on a mission to completely revolutionize how PR is done by teaching my signature program all around the story archetypes that land in national media attention and national media outlets for maximum impact, so women can get where they want to go faster. And that just lit a fire under me. So now I'm on a mission to scale the consulting and the training programs that we offer to peel back the curtain so that anybody, including the little guy, can get to the top through a backdoor approach that other people are paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to do.
So just let's lay some cards on the table, because PR costs money, media costs money. Okay, and sometimes the layman thinks, wow, you got mentioned on, or you were a guest on, you must be really good. Your message must be really strong. You know, your book, your keynote, your TED Talk, whatever that is, versus somebody really marketed you to the right people, and you pay. Marketing costs money. And, you know, this is where I always say, marketing costs money. You can go to a free networking event, or you can go to a high quality networking event for $100 or more. Okay. Every piece of marketing is an investment, and investments are in money and in time. So when we look at that, we can't see the flash and mirrors of, hey, Michelle Obama's book,
right,
you know, blah, 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 blah. There's investments behind it. How have you know, I love that you say you're blowing up the industry, because I love to blow some crap up. I have to tell you.
Okay, we're going to get along great, Ivy.
So a client came to me, she goes, you know, I studied the market in my area, and based on what everybody else is doing, this is what I need to position myself to be.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, you hired the wrong person. I think we need to rediscuss this. And she goes, what do you mean? I said, if you're going to tell me based on what everybody else is doing, that's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
It's not going to fly. We're going to, you know, and so I am so engrossed in this, Ashley.
Yeah.
How do you blow some stuff up? Because I love to do that.
Okay. So I'm just going to be raw and real, Ivy, because I don't have any patience to like play the game anymore. This is like go time for people. And 2019 is the year for media, but you have to do it right. So here's the deal. What's happening in the industry today, and with a lot of publicity trainers, coaches, strategists, they're operating by a principle that you need to start small and get on your cousin's podcast and your neighbor's blog and test the market, and, you know, practice telling your story. And in some distant future, maybe a year from now, you can get featured in the national outlets. And I say, look, if you're an entrepreneur, you are wearing at least 10 hats. Why are you spending your precious time allocating it to tiny little outlets that are not going to move the needle in your business? This is a waste of time and money. And so many people are doing it. And what I say is, look, you need to start at the top. A woman I know, Kelly Roach, she says, things trickle down from the top, not the bottom. So what I say is you need to land your breakout story, first of all, in a top national platform and trigger what I call the domino effect. Because what happens is you'll get twice the results in half the time if you go for the top first. And all the other tiny, smaller outlets will get in line to feature you because they want to be seen as relevant, credible sources. So if anyone wants to take one thing away from this session on this podcast, it's to position yourself as a power player from day one. Because when you have national media credibility in the first month or two of your business or your book launch, and you have top brass testimonies from credible experts, you are going to be seen as a power player, and you are going to be able to charge much higher rates. So let me give you an example of how this works, because
thank you, because we love examples, because there's concept and then the visibility of the concept.
Yes. So I'm going to step by step. Like, how does this actually work? So let me talk about, okay, one of my students. As I mentioned, I have a training program. It is now with students in 9 countries. And the purpose of this program is to get people featured at the national level in under 60 days. I just say, like, stop wasting time. Let's go big or go home, and I can teach you how to do it because I'm self-taught. So I know how it works at this level. A student comes to me. Her name is Manishas, and Manisha was an immigrant who came to America after living in 6 countries. She had a big dream, and she launched a tech platform. Manisha was 2 years in business and had no traction, barely any clients, and no investors. And she realized after 2 years, I'm either going to go big and really make a go of it, or I'm not. So she agreed to try out the program for 2 weeks. And here's what happened. She came to me and we first of all had to reposition her story because so many people are pitching themselves in ways that are ineffective. For example, Ivy, you mentioned that I have written for Forbes and New York Times and Fast Company. So I get my fair share of pitches, and I will tell you that I have deleted every single one. So that means that professional publicists and celebrity publicists are O for O with me, 100% fail rate. Because people are pitching themselves like it's an announcement. Hey, I have this new cool thing. Do you want to write about it? That is not an effective way to tell your story. So what you have to do, and what we did with Manishas, is we built an amazing story archetype for her that went something like this. This woman lived in 6 countries before settling in America. Now she's launched a tech platform to ensure that every American gets their chance at the American dream. And with an angle like that, she got her first profile feature ever in Fast Company.
Wow.
Yes, it doubled her website traffic overnight. She got clients and customers immediately. She was profiled at Northwestern University's alumni, where she went to school, started to form partnerships. And here is the cherry on top. O Magazine saw the feature, and they contacted her. And they said, we would like to place you in our September print issue as our featured trailblazer.
Wow, that's impressive. That's when you're talking major coup, and you're talking about the willingness to do things uniquely, differently, and out of the norm.
Yes.
And that's, that is innovation. When we keep waking up every day and it's Groundhog Day and we do what everybody else is doing and we do what we're doing, and
yes.
it's rinse and repeat and by rote, there is no innovation.
Yes.
Without innovation, look how many brands we wouldn't have. Somebody was just chatting with me yesterday and they're like, oh, well, I'm in New York, so it's snowing. I don't have to think about going out for weeks on end because everything gets delivered. My food gets delivered, my drugstore delivers, the wine gets delivered. And I'm like, who, 5-10 years ago would have actually thought about that?
Right.
If we don't play big, as you're referencing, and we don't play within the willingness to do things uniquely, differently, in the boundary of releasing the boundaries and playing in innovation.
Yes.
That's where evolution is.
Exactly. Ivy, thank you so much for saying that. Okay. So here, just to riff off what you just said, the reason why, we've heard the adage before, what got us here won't get us there. How you thought before won't get you where you want to go. That's my own take on it. The reason why I'm saying that national media is the 2019 thing you need to invest in is this. In the world today, an individual can become a business in 60 seconds. So I'm sure most of your listeners are business owners, which is awesome. But 5 years ago, that was not the case. And today, every market is saturated. So you can't enter a market that's not saturated. And what happens is people start to pay inflated Facebook ad rates, $10,000 a month, $15,000 a month, $30,000 a year. It's a home down payment. It's a home mortgage. And it's, again, all about posturing. And you're driving traffic to a website that has no credibility because anybody could be a coach. Anybody. Where's the credibility? Where's the positioning? Now you just hit international bestseller. So I know that you have so much credibility and positioning. But what is the thing that's going to help you stand apart? And for me, national media still has social proof and credibility where if you invest in that first before driving the Facebook ads or doing your marketing strategy, you're going to 10x your return because people will take you more seriously. So people come to me and say, my client flow is slowing down and I've been basing everything on referrals, but lately things have been stagnating and I haven't raised my prices in a year or two. And, I'm competing for the lowest price in the market and this just isn't sustainable. It's like, yeah, because now it's time to level up.
Exactly. So I want to ask you this, because you're giving amazing information and such insight that is relevant for the early entrepreneur, the 10, 12-year-old business making hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars, as well as corporations. And one thing about leadership that I talk about is every leader, whether you're working for a Fortune 500 company, the position you hold, you're a leader within your own right and a brand within your own right.
Yes.
And so it's applicable from there down to the person who's about to open their doors tomorrow.
Right.
In this journey, in being real, and I so appreciate your realness in here, not every day is a rosy day. What are some of the challenges you have faced in transitioning from, Arkansas to coming to New York at one point and going to a walk up with roommates to living out in a beautiful place in California today?
Well, as you said, it hasn't always been easy. And one thing I do want to note before we segue in, because it's about to get really juicy here, is that if anyone is interested in doing media this year, you want to do it really strategically because not all outlets are created equal. If you're an author or if you're a product company or if you're a service-based company, you need to target different outlets. So if anybody wants a free blueprint that I created, they can text media to 66866. And it's just media to 66866. And that's just free. You could check it out. It's really easy.
And by the way, that will be in the show notes. So do not panic if you did not catch it quickly. All these, Ashley's website, it will be in the show notes, how to reach out for more information, the blueprint, which is invaluable. Media is ever evolving like business is ever evolving. You need to know what's going on today, not what happened yesterday.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so challenges and real talk. So here's what I realized, Ivy, and you say this so appropriately, it's like decide your life and then build the business that aligns with it. And when I was getting started, there were a lot of times where, I realized, okay, we need to put this policy in place or this policy in place and really act with integrity and alignment and how I want my company to be. So for our micro lending 1-for-1 program, that didn't exist at first. And it wasn't until 2 years in where I realized I want my company to have more impact. How can I create a profit circle that actually helps so many more women? And so literally at every stage of the journey, it's been an evolution. And one of the biggest challenges has been mastering my mindset to maintain an attitude of exploration and practice. As soon as I start to feel like it has to be this way, things get really sticky. So let me give you an example. There was a moment, and this is not necessarily uncommon, where we had the opportunity to bring on it was a big client contract. It was $60,000. And we did not want to be micromanaged and change our contract around because our policies are put in place for a reason. And, that was a deal breaker. The client wanted us to change a lot of things. And I knew at the outset, having been in business for a number of years, our policies are in place for a reason. And we declined to change it. And that was it. Okay, we're clearly not a fit. And in that moment of surrendering, $60,000 to business revenue, to stay in alignment with my own integrity, I felt free. Like that felt like freedom to me. But there was a time when I first launched the company, with savings and a big tax bill coming up and living on a credit card, where 60 grand was more than I had ever made in a year. And so mastering the mindset through the process of building and scaling the company has been so critical in helping us navigate our growth and helping us align with the clients who are going to equally respect our work as we do theirs. Does that make sense?
It does. And what I'm hearing you say, which I really appreciate you sharing out there, is the importance of staying to your own integrity and the respect for yourself and the business that you're creating. So, you put boundaries in place. We're talking earlier is in breaking the rules and pushing the boundaries. And that's okay on the exception. But you must have them in place in your business. And I'm loving that you're sharing this because it's important to stay in integrity to yourself and the business that you're creating.
Yes.
And when you break that integrity, you go down a rabbit hole.
Well, and here's the thing, Ivy, that as long as we're in integrity with ourselves, I'm okay with using and leveraging the business to disrupt an industry. Mm-hmm. Right? And I think that's what you're saying. And what happens what it really feels like to be in integrity with self is freedom. That's what it really feels like. And something happened last year, I think you were in California at the time, where, I was at a business event over a weekend with, 7 to 10 figure business owners. And I got a text saying, evacuate Malibu because the fires are coming. And I'm supposed to train at this event. The former president of Oprah Winfrey Network is in the room. Like, it was go time for me. Meanwhile, I'm getting texts and pictures from friends that my house is probably burning down. And my life, I had a suitcase to my name at that point. And, what transpired is the house was saved. A number of houses were burned on the street. The firemen never came to the street at all. But, thousands of houses were burned and we were displaced for weeks and months. And building the business to allow me to work around the world and still have breakthroughs for clients and, get them placed and have the team manage everything, it felt like freedom. And that was based on being in integrity with self from day one. That allowed me to navigate these very traumatizing external situations and just do the best that I could.
So in wrapping today, and you've given such amazing information, I know I want to get some insight. You have some exciting things coming up in your life. But before we go there, tell me, what tips do you have for our listeners who are established businesses, who are building businesses, who are women leaders in corporations and looking at their own unique brand? Yeah. What tips or advice do you have for us women out there?
Sure. So in the world that we live in today, you need to think of yourself as the owner of your own mini business, even if you don't have one. So if you're an individual in an employee position, 9 to 5, working for a larger corporation, think of yourself as an entrepreneur and think of yourself as a business. So you are your own best investment, always and everywhere, start to finish. And, really, as you think of yourself as an entrepreneur, think about the value that you're bringing to your company in terms of results. What are the actual results that you're offering? If you're a company or a business, you need to position yourself as a power player from day one, whether that's launch day or whether that you've been in business 5 years. Now is really the time to start leveling up the brand, the language that you're using, the positioning that you're employing. National media is a great way to do that, as well as columns in national outlets and speaking on top global stages. If anyone wants help with various guidelines and ways to customize that strategy, I'd be happy to be a resource. But at this point, it's time to stop playing small and think and dream as big as you dare, and then expand your behaviors to match the size of that new big dream.
I love it. So Ashley, you have some new exciting things on the horizon coming our way.
Yes. So
just share and tip off our audience.
Yes. Well, I'm so excited because my new book is coming out. It is called Unknown to Unforgettable: How to Position Yourself in National Media Outlets as a Power Player. And would love to let your community know about it, and they can get a copy in the link below, as well as I offer free training all the time. So if anything that I talked about in this conversation with you, Ivy, was interesting for them, they can find me on Facebook in Media Masters, and I offer video trainings in there every week for ongoing guidance. So I would say look me up on Facebook. Media Masters is the group. Grab a copy of the book, and if you want the media blueprint, it's media to 66866. And thank you for having me.
Thank you. And listeners, if you enjoyed this interview and you want to be in the loop on more great information and content coming your way, remember to subscribe to Her Success Story so it drops into your podcast little app on whatever unit, whether it be phone or computer you use. Please feel free to write us a review and let us know what else you want to hear. We're here to serve you. Thank you for joining me on Her Success Story. See you next time.